Well, here we are with my 98 Cherokee today. I've got a camping trip coming up in a couple days, and just over the last weekend I gave it a good once through and everything was okay, gave it a clean bill of health, but yesterday, running some errands, the water pump started leaking. So I went out and grabbed a new water pump today. One thing that a lot of people do when they're replacing the water pumps on these is they'll take out this fan shroud and your fan here. And while that really is not much effort at all, I'm a big fan of putting a lot of effort into avoiding one small effort job just so I can pretend that it made things easier. So instead of that, we're going to start with taking out this fan and shroud. It's just these two bolts here, and then it's just got tabs at the bottom, so it just pops right out, and that'll give us more room for working on the power steering pump here, because this will need to be shoved off to the side. The bracket bolts right to the water pump. Other than that, I think we'll get going here. Let's loosen instead of tighten. These are 8mm, by the way, if I didn't mention that. Okay, well, I've already shot myself in the foot here. Someone before me hardwired this fan in. There isn't a connector there for me to disconnect, as you would in most cases. So to have room to get this one out, I do need to take this fan shroud off. Whoops. Oh, never mind. Let's go. Oh, I wish someone had done that properly. But anyway. Okay, so next, I'm going to break the water pump bolts loose. So what I'm doing here is I've just got one wrench on here to keep it from spinning. And then I'm going to take the other wrench here. I'm going to reach down, and while I use this wrench to hold the pulley still, I'll go ahead and break that other bolt loose. So I'm going to do that for the 3 bolts I'm not using to hold it still, and then I'll go ahead and switch to another bolt and break that one loose as well. Okay, water pump pulley bolts are all loose. Now what we got to do is release the tension on the belt so that we can spin this pulley around to get to the bolts holding the power steering pump on. So to loosen the belt, you're going to need a 15mm wrench. And you're going to want to loosen this bolt on the idler pulley right here. And then you're going to be able to turn this. And this is actually what tensions the belt. This bolt locks it in place. So you got to break this one loose first. Okay. There's that one. And actually we'll loosen that up. And you're going to want to loosen it up a little bit. So we'll get a few threads out there. And you can totally do that with a wrench. But I'm going to cheat a little bit. Use the impact. Just because it's easier. Just like that, that's all the tension off the belt. Hit the ground, we're all good. So all the tension's off the belt here. Water pump pulley is loose, and so is the belt. So we can shimmy this guy off of the power steering pump. Got our belt set off to the side here, and then we're going to have to take a socket, and these will be 13mm as well. Okay. good. I also want to mention, before you get this entirely unmounted, and I still have the bolts in it here, they're all broken loose, but before I move it off to the side, where it is right now is actually easier. I had to sneak my impact wrench into this opening here, because there's a bolt down at the bottom. If we bring the camera around, you can see down there, right in the center of the screen, there's a little bracket right there where my finger's touching. There we go. And right underneath it, right about in line with my finger, there's a 14mm bolt that goes right there. So I fished my impact in through here, and with an extension I was able to get it on that bolt and pop it out. Okay, camera battery died there, but all I did was take out the 3 bolts at the top of the power steering pump there, and I just took that off and set that off to the side there. Be careful you don't want to like kink the hoses or anything, but it should be pretty sturdy, so don't worry too much. And I've cracked loose these 2 bolts right here, which hold this whole bracket and the belt tensioner on. So I'm going to head and buzz those out, take this out of the way, and then I'll get to draining the coolant. Alright, and I thought these were going to be 15mm. They're 14mm. I already broke them loose, so I'm going to take these out by hand. There goes another one. But hey, it's on the ground. You know where it is. Okay. Take this out. Be careful that power steering pump doesn't just drop. Alright, now we're going to drain the coolant. So first I'm just going to come down here. I'm going to loosen this hose clamp. Pretty much all of these are 5/16, 8mm. They're pretty interchangeable. I'm going to loosen that up until I can move it down the hose and out of the way. So now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this end of the hose off the water pump there. That's the lower hose on the driver's side here. And I'm going to position my drain pan underneath, and I'm going to try to aim the hose into that drain pan. I want to stress, this never works. You will make a mess in your garage. There's no way to avoid it. So, that being said, let's make our best attempt here. It is going to gush out all at once. Ooh. So, just be ready. Oh. Whew. Yeah, that's a mess. Now don't go trying to clean up your mess just yet. We are still not done making it. We're going to take these bolts out of the... well, dang. We're going to take these bolts out of the water pump pulley here. And we're going to take that off. These are all finger tight since we already loosened these before. And if we can drop as few of them as possible down into the coolant, that'd be awesome. Okay, bolts are out. Pulley just wiggles off. The bottom heater hose here, there's one and then there's another one right underneath this. Come down, this one goes to the thermostat, the other one goes into a metal pipe right here on this end of the water pump. So we're going to disconnect the hose from that end of the pipe. Super easy to get to. It's right over here, no problem at all. We'll just pop that hose off. That metal pipe does not always come with the water pump. It did not come with this one, but I did buy it separately. It was in stock in my local auto parts store. You are going to probably want to buy one of these. These are steel. This is aluminum. Things rust together. It's probably going to be impossible to get the original one out. You might get away with it. You might not. I just bought it for safety, and it's just going to be way easier to put that new one on and then slap the whole thing in. Gonna come in here with a pair of pliers. Take that hose clamp. Move it on down the line. Good way to get hoses loose. So you give them a nice twist. They still don't want to come loose. Sometimes you can grab them with some pliers. Careful with this, because if it's an old hose, like this one is, you can tear the hose, and that's generally not fun. Now you gotta replace the hose. Got it broken free. Now we should be able to, there we go, yep. Pop it off, there we go. And since we drained it mostly down there, oh, there's a little bit of coolant coming out of there. I'll set this up here somehow so it doesn't, there we go. So it doesn't just run out. All we have left now is the water pump bolts. So there's 4 bolts on the water pump. You got 1 and 2 here. There's a 3rd one back here. And the 4th one's down right underneath, straight under the pulley. Those are all 13 millimeter. Just so I can get to all of them, I'm probably going to get a socket here in a second, but start breaking them loose. As you do this, this is a great time to replace your upper and lower radiator hoses. And it's also a great time to replace your thermostat there. The only reason I'm not is because I just did the radiator, both hoses, and the thermostat a couple months ago. So they're all brand new. The water pump is old though, and that's the issue we're having. Phew. That one's kind of gooey. It's had coolant leaking on it. And you want to remember, there is one longer bolt, and it comes out of this hole on the driver's side. Okay, everything's unhooked. Now, let's see if we can... Alright. So, I'll go ahead and wrestle this out. You can see it's got that pipe on it. And, you know, this one really does not look too bad. This might have been replaced. Actually, I think it was replaced at some point. So these, when they start to fail, this is on the bottom side of the water pump. You can see this is the weep hole here. Now, this shaft is spinning, and it spins the impeller on this end. This is what moves the water around, alright? Between here and here, there has to be a seal, because there is a shaft going from here over to the impeller there. So there's a seal somewhere in there, and what happens is this weep hole indicates when that seal starts to go bad. When that seal goes bad, it'll leak right out that hole. We'll take this and throw it in the recycling, and we'll throw the new one on. And there's been a plot twist. I did get the old coolant pipe here, the old inlet pipe, off the old water pump. So I am going to reuse it, because it looks to be in present shape, and I think this has been replaced before. So I'm going to add some thread sealer, because it does need it here. That's going to thread in right here. And we're just going to return this new one. So one other thing I'm going to do with this paper gasket here is I'm going to coat it in this gasket sealant here. It's not totally necessary. In theory, these are supposed to be able to seal just fine on their own, and I have seen it done, and I've done it before. But last time I did a water pump on one of these engines, I ended up having to take it off again because the gasket didn't seal correctly, which was probably my own fault, but it really sucks if you have to undo everything again after you've done it once. So we're going to coat it in this and just give it a little bit of insurance. Alright, once we start spreading this, we'll have a few minutes. I'll go ahead and stick it to the back of the water pump here, and then we'll just go right ahead and slap that on the engine, because we don't want this to sit too long and cure up. And then I'm probably going to go eat dinner and let all of this cure up a bit, and then I'll fill it up with coolant. But let's coat this guy up. And we'll go ahead and set it on there. That almost lines up well. Am I being stupid? I am being stupid. Okay. Never mind. That all works perfectly fine. Quit throwing a hissy. It's okay. Alright. Get this stuck down a little bit. And let's go throw it on. And one thing to note here, I did add a little thread sealer on the bolts here, but I don't actually know if they go into any coolant passages or not, but I don't think it'll hurt anything. Well, no, it definitely won't hurt anything. Alright, I think I'm going to let that sit, and then after dinner it should be good to put coolant back in it. I guess I could hook up hoses and stuff. So, as you can see, I went ahead and put everything back together. You already saw me take it apart. It's the same thing in reverse. Not that big a deal. So, yeah, I did never have to take the fan or this shroud out. I'll take it. And all that's left to do is I need to tension the belt here and fill it up with the coolant. Okay, I've got the Jeep running and bleeding off all that air. And thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you next time.